Good afternoon. Welcome to the Army Maps IDIQ Opportunity webinar held by GDI Consulting. My name is Cal, and I am your artificial intelligence host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting and a subject matter expert on these opportunities. Ab will go through the latest changes in the MAPS requirements post-draft number 6 and deep dive into the scoring system. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to various online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and APEX, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Then, a short discussion of the background of MAPS, which consists of two other contracts, the RS3 and ITES-3S programs. Then Ab will provide some general details of the MAPS opportunity, as well as its domains. Before going into the details of the scoring system, Ab will discuss the highlights of the changes in draft RFPs number 5 and 6. Next will come a discussion of the proposal structure and the minimum requirements. The scoring system will be then covered in detail. Ab will also discuss the source selection process and touch on the subject of partnering for this opportunity. Finally, before going into the Q&A, Ab will provide his recommendations towards preparing a winning proposal. So with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to start the webinar. Ab?
Hello everyone, and thank you Cal, and thank you everyone for participating in our webinar. As Cal mentioned, we are going to cover a lot of material, so if you want to review some of the slides, as I might be going a little bit too fast, please download the slide deck. And if you have difficulty downloading the slide deck, just put your name on the chat system and we will be sending you the slide deck after the webinar. Okay, before going into the actual MAPS webinar, let me introduce our company very quickly for those of you who are new to our webinar. So I will be very fast on this. We've been in business for over 15 years. And if you look at some of the numbers to the left, we had 4 wins on the RS3, which is one of the contracts that is being consolidated into MAPS, 3 small business, 1 large. We had 7 wins on ITES-3S, 5 small business and 2 large. ITES-3S, again, I will go into the details of that, is also another contract that is being consolidated into MAPS. We had a 98% win rate on Oasis Plus. We had 97 awards for our 97 clients. It's important because MAPS is also a self-scoring type submission, and Oasis Plus was also a self-scoring, so you can see how we fared there. 82% win rate on all DOW, Department of War opportunities. And overall in 2025, we had 236 wins with $15.7 billion worth of contract for our clients. I won't go into the details. You can come back to this slide later on if you want to know about our background. Now, as far as our services are concerned, we have 4 major services that we provide for our clients. Proposal development, including eligibility and score assessment for self-scoring type ones. Full task order or standalone proposal support. And then full proposal writing for GWACs or IDIQs and BPAs, including self-scoring types or the traditional types. For those of you who have your own proposal shops, we provide review services as well as staff augmentation. So if you're short of this or that position, like a technical writer or a graphic artist or even a proposal manager, we can provide them as well. Then the second type of service is capture management. We provide full long-term dedicated capture management as well as short-term sourcing and qualification for opportunities, creating your pipeline, and so on and so forth. We also have special support for vehicles like Oasis Plus, GSA Mass, Seaport, in which we find and qualify opportunities for our clients under those. And then we have our platform, which is an AI-based platform for capture management called Capture Edge. It gives you a full capability in terms of finding opportunities from SAM as well as state and local. So it provides state and local opportunities as well, finding contracts and their background, finding competitors, other companies, pricing. So it covers everything and it's very economical. So and a lot of our clients are using that instead of the more expensive systems on the market because this is AI based. Essentially, that makes it much more economical. Support services, we provide competitive intel, black hat exercises, and price to win. Also, for those clients who are moving into getting their accounting system approved by the government, by DCMA or DCAA, we help them prepare their accounting system, as well as providing CMMC certification support and ISO support for those of you who are looking for that. And finally, we provide proposal development capture management training, which is a customized set of training based on your specific needs. Okay, so that was a quick intro to our company. As far as what we provide for MAPS, IDIQ, we provide free consultation, so we can jump on the call, answer any questions that you might have. We provide free minimal or full eligibility and qualification assessment in case you're unsure whether you can actually go after this opportunity or not. It's a little bit late for that, to be honest, but we still do that. And then we have full proposal development. We put a dedicated team providing support for all volumes, the self-scoring process, and then full and multiple reviews, and helping you submit it to the government. Finally, we provide review services for those of you who have your own proposal shop. Here we do full proposal and compliance reviews, 2 rounds at least, and strategy consultation. So these are the specific services we provide for MAPS. Let's start with a little bit about MAPS background. Okay, so MAPS is the marketplace for the acquisition of professional services. That stands for MAPS. It's the result of merging 2 major U.S. Army programs, the RS3 and ITES-3S, into one contract. Now, RS3, it answers towards the requirements of C5I SR, Command Control Communication Computers, Cyber Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance. Its value is currently $37.4 billion ceiling. Approximately $10.1 billion have been obligated. This number might be a little bit off, maybe a month or so old. I didn't update it. So approximately $10 billion actually obligated. The current contracts under this are 261 companies. Now, ITES-3S, the scope includes a full range of IT services and solutions necessary for the Army towards its enterprise infrastructure and infrastructure goals worldwide. Its value is $12.1 billion ceiling, and currently $4.3 billion have been obligated, and there are 135 companies awarded under it. I will go a little bit into details of each, but very quickly. So start with RS3. It's called Responsive Strategic Sourcing for Services, RS3, US Army, IDIQ. As I said, $37.4 billion ceiling, but around $10 billion has been obligated. It has both unrestricted and small business set aside, 261 awards. It was a 5-year base and 5-year option starting, the option started March 2019. Okay. Now, the areas that RS3 covers are C4ISR engineering services, research, development, test and evaluation, logistics, acquisition, strategic planning, and education and training. These are the 5 areas that it covers. And here is a graph that shows the spending history under RS3. You can see it's a healthy program. It's expanding each year. And the graph speaks by itself. For each year, it's been growing until 2025. It's over $2 billion of spending. These are in billions of dollars. Okay. And in terms of per agency spending, you can see essentially it's by the Army, a little bit by Department of War or Defense, a little bit by Air Force, but essentially it's Army specific type IDIQ. Okay, in terms of socioeconomic, you can see that approximately $4.5 million have been spent, billions actually, have been spent by large businesses, and then we see overall small businesses $2.6 billion or 2.7 nearly $billion. And then you can see the spread between different types of socioeconomic. Moving to our ITES-3S, US Army IDIQ MAC, Information Technology Services, $12.1 billion value. Again, this had both unrestricted and small business tracks. 135 companies were awarded, 52 unrestricted and 83 small business. 5-year base plus 4 1-year options was the system. Now, in terms of the spending, you can see that it's been growing again. A healthy program. It's a little bit less than $1 billion per year during 2024 and 2025. In terms of agency spending, this is a little bit more widespread than RS3. So you can see that Department of Defense and Air Force and GSA, DHS, Navy, Energy, Labor Department and Interior all did use it, but very small towards the Interior one. So again, it's essentially Army specific with $3.2 or $3.3 billion spent by the Army alone. Now, in terms of socioeconomic categories, again, this is more spread compared to RS3. You can see that under small business, small disadvantage or women-owned had a major share, $881 million for small disadvantage and $844 for women-owned. Okay, so moving on, let's now discuss a little bit about MAP's general information. Again, very quickly, I'm assuming that most of you already know it, so I will go very fast over this. So US Army IDIQ MAC, engineering, scientific, technical, and IT services types. It has no ceiling. Okay, so that's the good thing about it. Both unrestricted and small business. 350, yes, you're hearing correctly. So per the latest draft RFPs, number of awards will be 350, 70 in each of the domains, 5 domains, each 70, 15 large business, 15 emerging large business, 25 small business, and 15 commercial sector vendors. It is a 10-year program, 5-year base, plus 1 5-year option. It was supposed to be issued, the full RFP, early April, we'll see. And then the award date will be around the fourth quarter of 2026 or later. We'll see, depending on when it will actually be released, if they're on time or not. Now, there are 5 domains. Engineering, logistics, and operations domain. This has the name has changed with the NAICS code 541330, size standard $25.5 million, 70 awards. Management advisory domain 541611, $24.5 million size standard, meaning that if you're below that, you're considered small. With 70 awards. Research, development, testing, and evaluation domain 541715. Size standard is number of employees. If you're below 1,000, you're considered small. 70 awards. And then emerging IT domain and foundation IT domain 541512 and 541519, each 70. So you can see that 70 awards per domain. In each domain, it's split like this, as I said, 15 to large businesses, 15 to emerging large businesses. This is a new category. This is based on the new draft RFP. 25 to small businesses, and 15 to commercial sector vendors. So this is how it's going to be split in each domain. Okay, in terms of the timelines, this is what is the latest timeline that has been issued in March. We'll have to see again. Now, if the proposal release date, which was supposed to be, end of March, beginning of April, does not slip, the proposal due date will be towards the end of April. If it slips, essentially they've said they're going to give us 1 month for final RFP, after the final RFP for the proposal due date, and estimated 3 to 6 months in terms of the award after the due date. Okay, so this is the current timeline. Let's, before going into the details of the MAPS IDIQ, let's start with the latest changes. So if you've been to my previous webinars, I covered everything up to draft number 4. So my previous webinar did not have draft number 5 and 6 in it. So these are the changes in draft number 5 and 6. So the number of awards has been changed from 250 to 350. That means 50 per domain going to 70 per domain. There's a new pool for emerging large businesses, as I mentioned. These are those that are not small business, but their average annual income is below $250 million. Used to be $50 million, but they changed it in draft number 6 to $250 million. The price volume has been removed, so there's one place that you actually enter a price number in cover letter. I'll cover that. Attachment numbering has been changed, so don't be confused. They've changed the attachment numbering, so what was previously attachment number 4 is now attachment number 3, things like that. So make draft number 6 what is the naming convention. That is the latest. Complete change of scoring per sub-factors. So the total is now 130,000 points for all pools. So for all different types of companies, it's now the same, and it's 130,000 points. Introduction of 2 types of contracts. The LOE, or level of effort type contracts, QPs, qualifying projects they're called. So LOE, level of effort, and OB, or outcome-based contracts, because obviously if your contract is of what they call outcome-based, you cannot actually have points for things like how fast you actually filled a vacancy or things like that, because those things don't count under these outcome-based contracts. So, and I'll get to those, but that's the change. Now, a major change is the use of subcontracts, not subcontractors. Don't make a mistake. Your own subcontracts are now explicitly allowed. But this is for small business, for emerging large business, and for commercial sector vendors, not for large business submissions. So for those three types of companies, you can use your own subcontracts. I know a number of companies have decided not to go after maps because most of their contracts were subcontracts. Now you can actually use those and get points for them. Technical domain, a few changes here. Technical domain has been renamed to engineering operational technical domain. And some of the technical capabilities under the IT domain have been removed. So it's used to be larger, I think 10 or 11, 10, yes. 10 different technical capabilities has come back to 6 now. Okay, so those are the major changes. There are other changes, but these are the ones I wanted to draw your attention to. Okay, so let's start with the proposal structure now and how it is supposed to be. So there are 4 volumes in the new proposal structure, and the attachment numbering has been changed. So cover letter is volume 1, attachment 0001. Screening questions, they used to call this gate criteria, and scorecard, attachment 0002. Past performance is attachment 0003, which is the form that we have to fill out per QP, and attachment 0004, which is the PPQ in case there is no CPAR. We also have including proof docs like statement of work and the award document. They go here as well. And then finally, volume 4 is small business subcontracting plan, which is for large businesses only, as a written plan that you provide. Now let's look at the minimum requirements for maps. They used to call this gate criteria. They're calling it now screening questions. So it's different for the 4 types of business. So let's start with large businesses. So for large businesses, you need to have an active facility, secret facility clearance, ISO 9001, 2013 or 2015, CMMC level 2 self-certified. That's the minimum. Government accepted accounting system, government accepted purchasing system. And then as far as your CPARs, they're going to look at all the CPARs for your company during the past 3 years for the 5 NAICS codes of the 5 domains, not the 3 QPs, not the 3 contracts that you're supposed to provide, all the contracts that you have performed during the past 3 years under the 5 NAICS codes of the 5 domains. And they must not be marginal or below that 5% or more. So if it's 5% or more marginal or below, you are disqualified. For emerging large business, you need an active secret facility clearance, ISO 9001, CMMC self-certification, and then your audited financial reports for the past 5 years, showing that you're not a small business, but your income is average income is below $250 million. And here, in terms of CPARs, you cannot have more 10% or more marginal or below ratings of your CPARs. For small business, you need to have an active secret facility clearance, ISO 9001, CMMC level 2 self-certified, obviously small business certification. And here it's a little bit strict, so you cannot have 5 or more marginal or below ratings. The others were percentage, these are numbers. So 5 or more marginal or below ratings of your CPARs, all contracts during the past 3 years with the 5 NAICS codes of the domains. And then for commercial sector vendors, you only need CMMC level 2 self-certified and commercial sector vendor confirmation through your SAM. That's all you need. These are the minimum requirements. Now, what I want to say is that if you do not have any of these, it's too late.
If you asked me, say 3-4 months ago, and you said, hey, I don't have ISO, I don't have CMMC level 2 self-certified, maybe you had time. But now, because it's coming out very soon, in a matter of days, if you don't have any of these, I recommend you do not continue spending time, money, energy on this opportunity. However, what I do recommend is that since all these 5 domains have their corresponding domains under Oasis Plus, that for those companies who do not have the minimum requirements here, you should go after Oasis Plus, which is much more relaxed in terms of the minimum. Actually, it doesn't have any minimum requirements. So I recommend that you go after those companies don't have these minimum requirements. Go after Oasis Plus. It has the domains. It has actually 13 different domains, and these 5 domains fall under those. It is considered non-IT opportunity, IDIQ, but out of the 97 clients that we actually won contracts for, 36 of them were IT, because you can actually go for research and development, you can go for technical and engineering, and you can go for intelligence domains. These are the 3 domains under Oasis Plus that many IT companies can actually, fall under. So that was my recommendation to you for this. Okay, moving forward, proposal scoring system. So this is a picture of the scoring system. Now they have unified everything, so all different 4 type of companies have the same type of scoring. 13,000 points for systems agreement certifications and 117,000 points for 3 QPs under past performance. And you can see the numbering is exactly the same for all of them. I'm going to go into the details of all of this, but just wanted to tell you that it's the same for all 4 different types of companies. Okay, if you compare them, the yellow one is systems agreements. The other ones, the blue ones, are essentially the 117,000 points for 3 QPs, split into the different sub factors that provide the scoring. And you can see from the graph that performance quality is the most important one, 30,000 points, 10,000 per QP for a total of 30,000 points. So that's the most important part. Then comes relevance, and then pass-through rate, and so on and so forth. Okay, moving forward, let's look at the systems rates and certification scoring. So this is different for the different 4 types of companies. At the end of the day, you get 13,000 points for all, but the build-up is different. So for large business, approved property management system, you get 2,500 points. If you have a top secret facility clearance, 3,500 points. Now, as far as CMMC, remember the minimum gate criteria for all different types of companies is that you have a self-certified level 2. Now, above that, if you have a scheduled, conditional, or final CMMC level 2 by C3PAO certification, you get 2,000 points. Active and approved conditional CMMC level 2, you get 2,500 points. Active and approved final CMMC level 2, you get 3,500 points. And then if you have ISO 27001, you get 3,500 points. That was large business. Emerging large business, 2,000 points. Approved property management, 2,500 points. Approved purchasing system, 3,500 points. Approved government accounting system. If you have a top secret, you get 1,000 points. For the 3 levels of CMMC, 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 points. And then for ISO 27001, you get 1,000 points. Wherever you see I've written gate, it means that's a minimum. So it's a gate criteria. If you don't have that, you can't actually participate in maps. That's why I've written gates. You don't get any extra points for them. Small business, if you have an approved government accounting system, you get 3,000 points. Now, if you're submitting as a JV, you get an extra 2,000 points. That's not the case for the others, but for small business, you get 2,000 points if you're submitting as a JV. Top secret facility clearance, 2,500 points. 3 levels of CMMC, 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 points. And ISO 27001, 2,500 points. Finally, commercial sector vendors active for, because having a having a facility clearance, you don't it's not a minimum requirement. So if you have a secret facility clearance, you get 1,500 points. Top secret, you get 2,500 points. The 3 levels of CMMC, 2,000, 2,500, and 3,500 points. If you have an approved ISO 9001, because it's not a gate criteria for CSV companies, you get 3,500 points, and 3,500 points for ISO 27001. All of them, you can see, sum up to 13,000 points. Now, going more forward to past performance scoring. So remember, here we have to submit 3 contracts, or they call it qualifying projects, or QPs. Let's discuss that. Let's start with the minimum requirements. Minimum requirements for each QP we're talking about. So what are the minimum requirements for the QPs? Now, these QPs can be single, standalone contracts, or task orders under IDIQs or BPAs, or FSS, BOA, or OTA contracts. Now, note that I said task orders under. You cannot use an IDIQ itself or a BPA contract itself. It has to be a task order under it. Your contracts can be federal contracts, they can be state and local contracts, or commercial contracts, but you must be prime on them. Now, you can also use subcontracts, but not subcontractor contracts. So I said you must be prime on them. Now they've added this, that you can use subcontracts. So you can use your own subcontracts, but you cannot use a subcontractor contract, just to make it clear. The value of your contracts must be $2.5 million. That's the total value of each QP. Recency means that the completion date must be within the past 4 years, with 1 year of performance if it's ongoing. And there is a difference between LOE and OB contracts. I will go into that. Relevance NAICS for the contract must be one of the approved NAICS codes, and I will go into the approved NAICS codes. And then finally, CPARs. Remember that there was a minimum requirement for CPARs as a whole, but for the particular QP that you're bringing to the table, it has to have a CPAR. If it doesn't have a CPAR, then you need to fill out attachment 4 PPQ, send it to the contracting officer or the prime or the owner, and get it signed and get it back to you so that you can submit it as part of your submission. So for each QP, if it has a CPAR, don't submit anything. If it doesn't, you have to submit a PPQ. Okay. That's the discussion of LOE versus OB QPs. LOE stands for level of effort, and OB stands for outcome based. 2 types of contracts. So what are the definitions? So definition of LOE, I've written everything here, but essentially is those contracts that the CLINs are essentially based on labor hours and labor value. So it says, work 300 hours and I want 3 different labor categories, and you provide the pricing for the labor categories, that sort of thing. So contracts like LH, TNM, time and material, all cost reimbursable types, those are considered LOE QPs. OB or outcome-based QPs are those that the CLINs do not cover, the personnel and the hourly rates, but you're supposed to provide a specific outcome, a goal or target to the government. For example, you're supposed to prepare in case of an IT program, a specific IT product and submit it to the government. Or in terms of services, you're supposed to provide acquisition services to the government. So, but it's your responsibility, your government, your company's responsibility to do it. So that's the difference between LOE and OBQPs. Now, one point about OBQPs, outcome-based QPs, they must be completed. So that you cannot use an ongoing QP if it's considered a outcome-based contract. Now, in case it's a hybrid, so there is a CLIN for some sort of an outcome goal or a target. Also, there's a CLIN for some sort of a time and material sort of work, or LCATs and things like that. So if it's a hybrid one, it is considered, as far as MAPS is concerned, an LOE, level of effort. So even if it's a huge contract, everything is goal and targets, but you have one CLIN for labor hours and things like that, it's going to be considered LOE QP. Also, if you're submitting as a subcontract, one of your contract is a subcontract, it doesn't matter how your contract towards your prime is worded. The government wants to know what the prime's type of contract towards the government was. So if the prime's contract towards the government was gold-based, your subcontract is considered a outcome-based OVQP. If your prime's contract towards the government was level of effort type, yours will be the same. Okay, moving forward, let's consider past performance factors now. Now there are 10 of these. I'm going to, because of the time, I'm not going to go into details of the description I've written here. I will go into the details of that one by one after this. But this form, these next 3 slides, show you the name of the 10 and the maximum points. So recency, for example, if you performed within the past 2 years, you get 1,000 points per QP. These numbers are per QP. Relevance, meaning how relevant to the requirements of the government is, that QP, you get 7,000 points. I'll go into details, as I mentioned, how you calculate that. NAICS alignment, how well the NAICS of your contract, that QP aligns with the NAICS of the domain, you get 1,000 points there. Performance quality, meaning the 10,000 points. This is the most important one in terms of per QP. You get 10,000 points maximum for each QP. So one of the important factors to pick the contracts, the 3 QPs. If all the ratings for that QP are exceptional, you get 10,000 points. And then other levels. I will go to details of that too. But performance quality, 10,000 points. Then we have dollar value. Dollar value is different. That means dollar value of your QP, of your contract. It's different for the 4 types of contract. For large businesses, if it's $50 million or above, you get 4,000 points. For emerging, it's $25 million. For small businesses, $10 million. That's the ceiling. And for CSV, it's similar to small business, $10 million. So 4,000 points for that. And then you have levels below that with less points. Pass-through rate is essentially how much of your contract was performed by subcontractors. If 0 to 30% was, they want to see how strong you are compared to your subcontractors. You get 6,000 points. This is where probably small businesses will get more points compared to large businesses, because large businesses usually use subcontractors in performance. And then number 7, 8, 9, and 10. 7 and 8 are for LOE QPs. So if your QP is of the type LOE, level of effort, you will get scores for 7 and 8. Vacancy rate and time to fill rate, 5,000 points each. So for vacancy rate times 3, that's 15,000 maximum. Time to fill, 15,000 maximum. And then if your contract is OB, outcome based, you have schedule and completeness. Again, each of them 15,000 points. I will go into details of these, but at the end of the day, you get 39,000 points maximum per QP for a total of 117,000. Remember, we had 13,000 for systems and certifications for a total of 130,000. So this is how the scoring works. Now, from here on, I'm going to go into the details of each of these 10 different subfactors and discuss them. Okay, So let's start with number one, recency. So if you have an LOE QP, level of effort QP, you will receive 1,000 points if the QP has at least 1 year of complete performance that has occurred within the past 2 years. Okay, so remember the minimum was 4 years. That's the minimum as a whole for all QPs, otherwise they won't be acceptable. But if it was completed within the past 2 years, or you actually had 1 year of performance within the past 2 years, you get 1,000 points extra per QP. Now, if it's an OB, outcome-based QP, that type of contract, obviously the QP is must be completed. That's the minimum requirement. But you get 1,000 points if the period of performance end date was within the past 2 years. Instead of 4 years, it's 2 years. If it's 2 years, you get 1,000 points. So that's the first score factor. Let's go to number two, relevance. Relevance is based on what they call technical capability. They want to see how relevant each QP is towards the content of what they require under each of the domains. So for example, for the engineering, logistics, and operational domain, there are 7 technical areas: engineering services, logistics services, manufacturing readiness, medical logistics, technology insertion, integration, interoperability. You get 14.29% for each of these. So the way it works is that if the SAO covers, for example, you read through the SAO, if you can prove that it covers engineering services, you get 14.29. If it covers logistics services, another 14.29, and so on and so forth. So the more of these technical areas that the QP SAO covers, the more percentage you get and the more points you get. And I will do an exercise later on to show you how you calculate this. So these are technical capabilities, which are different obviously for each domain. That's why I've listed the domains. So this is the first domain. Now going to the second domain, which is management and advisory, it has 7 different technical areas. For each of these that your SAO for that QP covers, you get the 14.29%. Now, the RDT and E, research development, test and evaluation domain, has only 6 technical areas. So the percentage is a little bit different. It's 16.67%. And again, you read through the SAO, find out how many you cover. Emerging IT domain, it used to have 10. They have removed some of them. So now it has 6. And so you have 16.67% for each of these technical areas. And then finally, foundation IT domain with 6 areas, 16.67. So let's do an exercise so you can understand what I mean. Now, this is for the domain number 5, foundation IT. We've listed the technical areas, 6 of them. They're 16.67% each of them. Now, we read through the statement of work for our contract for QP1, for example, and we find out that the statement of work covers help desk support, it covers IT education, it covers IT management services, and it covers IT services. So we have 4 of these out of 6. So we claim 16.67 for each of those that we have. Sum it up, it comes to 66.68%. So that's the total coverage we have for this QP. Now they have set the levels for points. So if you cover 100%, meaning all 6 here, you get 7,000 points. Between 75 to 99%, 5,000 points. 50% to 74.99%, 2,500 points. 25 to 49.99%, 1,000 points. Below 25%, 0 points. This is the same for all domains. For each domain, the technical capability are different. Obviously, the percentage might be different, but the way the points are managed is the same. So it's always, for example, 75% to 99% is 5,000 points, and so on and so forth. Now, here in this example, we have 66.68%. If you look at these levels, we see that we fall under the third level, between 50 to 74.99. So we can claim 2,500 points for this QP as far as the technical capabilities and the relevance subfactor is concerned. This is how you calculate it for each domain. Let's go into number 3, next alignment. So for next alignment, you get 1,000 points. What does it mean? Remember, the minimum requirement was that the QP must have a next code that falls within any of these that are listed, the acceptable next. The column says acceptable next. So say you're going for management and advisory services, but your next code for the contract is 541512, which is emerging IT. It's still acceptable, okay? Even though the management and advisory service next code is 541611, because the next code you're having is one of the 5 domains, it's acceptable. But you don't get any points, any extra points. The 1,000 point comes if your contract, you're going for the management advisory service. If the contract has 541611 as its next code, then you get 1,000 extra points. That's how you get the extra points. So you have the acceptable next code, and then you have this extra point for next alignment. Okay, moving forward. Score factor number 4, performance quality. This is the most important one. Why? Because you get 10,000, you can get 10,000 points, which is the highest point per QP for any of the subfactors. So you should select your QPs accordingly. You get 10,000 points if all the ratings for the CPARs of that QP are exceptional. Remember, if you don't have a CPAR, you have to get a PPQ filled out and then use that. So 10,000 point if everything is exceptional. 7,500 point if everything is very good or higher. So meaning that, say we have 5 ratings under a CPAR. If 4 of them are exceptional, one of these is very good, it's considered the second level, even though 4 of them are exceptional. The first level is if all are exceptional. Second level is very good or higher, 7,500 points. Satisfactory or higher, 4,500 points, meaning that you have everything exceptional but one satisfactory, it falls under the third level, 4,500 points. Neutral rating is 1,000 points. Now, you don't receive credit for a project with below satisfactory rating in any of the CPAR ratings. So remember, when you're picking it, maybe everything is exceptional, but one of them is, below satisfactory, you don't get any points. Don't pick that contract. If the score of any of the ratings is NA, it doesn't count, so they're not going to look at it. So no problem. If you have NA under any of the ratings, no problem. It's not going to be counted. So what I mean is that, say you have 4 of them exceptional, 1 NA. That's considered all exceptional, so you get 10,000 points. And then PPQ, I mentioned that you need to have a PPQ filled out if you don't have a CPAR. And then, as I mentioned, picking QPs, this is the most important subfactor to consider because it gives you the highest score. Moving forward to dollar value, number 5. So this is different for the 4 different types of contracts. There are 3 levels. Minimum is obviously $2.5 million. So if you're below $2.5 million, the total value, you cannot use that QP at all. But other than that, you can see that 3 levels are different. $50 million, 4,000 points for large business. 4,000 points is $25 million for emerging large business. $10 million for small business and CSV. And then between, you have 2 other levels below that. Now, the dollar value pertains to the total value of the contract, not annual value or anything like that. Total value of the contract. And remember, as I said, minimum value is $2.5 million. Score factor number 6, pass-through rate. So pass-through rate, meaning how much of the work was performed by the subcontractor. Between 0% to 30%, you get 6,000 points. between 30% to 50% of the work, 2,500 points, 50% to 65%, 1,000 points, and anything above 65%, you don't get any points. And the formula is written there, but it's easy. I mean, you calculate the value of the contract, total value of the contract and total value of subcontracted contracts. Okay, now we reach to number 7 and number 8, vacancy rate and time to fill rate, which are for only level of effort type QPs, and then number 9 and 10, schedule and completeness, which are for only outcome-based contracts. So let's start with the vacancy rate subfactor. So if the vacancy rate is 0%, you get 5,000 points, 1% to 4.99%, 3,500 points, and so on and so forth. If the vacancy rate is 15% or more, you don't get any points. Now, how do you calculate the vacancy rate? So number of vacant positions at the end of the last full year of performance of the QP divided by number of positions proposed, meaning, the contract, times 100. So let's look at an example. The contract is for 15 people. Last full year, you had 13 people. Number of vacancies would be 2. 15 minus 30. So 2 divided by 15. Vacancy rate is 13%. You look up at those rates. The fifth one, 12% to 14.99%. You get 1,000 points. This is how you calculate. Now, one point to consider. If the QP has a reduction of workforce through an official descope, so maybe the contract is for 15 people, 5 year, but last year they descoped it to 13 people. So the last 4 year you were supposed to provide 13 people, and you did provide 13 people. So essentially your vacancy rate was 0. You get 5,000 points. Okay. Time to fill rate. So again, remember this is only for LOE QPs, level of effort QPs. So fill rate is 30 days or less, 5,000 points. Fill rate is 31 to 45 days, 3,500 points, and so on. If the fill rate is anything above 75 days, and that's not 45, 75 days or more, you don't get any points. Now, how do you calculate time to fill? So it's date of offer acceptance by the government minus date vacancy open. So let's look at an example. Say a staff member quit. So the vacancy opened on that date, which is the 3rd of, say, February 2025. Now, our offer to the government for replacing the staff was accepted by the government on 18th of March. So time to fill would be 18th of March minus 3rd of February. That's 43 days. You look up that leveling and you see that 43 days comes under the second one. We get 3,500 points. This is how you calculate it. Now, the time to fill is calculated for the last full year of performance. The same for the previous one. I did not emphasize that. For number 7, that was the same. So for number 7 and number 8, you calculate it based on the last full year of performance, not the entire duration of the contract. Last full year of performance. Now, it might be the case that you had multiple vacancies filled. So maybe not just one person, you had 3 people. What you do is that you average out. So you calculate each of the fill rates for each of the 3 people, and then you average them. So maybe one was 13, one was 43 days, and one was 70 days. You add them, divide by 3, and that's the final fill rate, time to fill rate that you actually use. Okay, so those 2 were for a level of effort type. Now let's look at the 2 that are specific to outcome-based contracts. Number 9 is scheduled, and number 10 is completeness. So start with number 9. This is a little bit ambiguous. I'm not very sure of it. So what you're seeing here, and my explanation is my take on this. We'll have to see how they clarify it on the final RFP release. So they've said that if the schedule, or whatever you can call it, is greater or equal to 50% of AQL, you get 5,000 points. What is AQL? It's acceptance quality level, essentially finishing the contract on time. So when it says is greater or equal to 50% of AQL, meaning that 50% would be half the time. So if you finished in half the time or less, you get 5,000 points. Then 20% to 50% of AQL, 3,500 points. Between AQL and 20% of AQL, 2,500 points. If you finished it just on time, you get 1,000 points. If you had any delays in performance, you don't get any points. So the formula is like this: 1 minus, this is my formula, okay? 1 minus actual delivery date divided by contractual delivery times 100%. So, example, a contract begins on 15th of March 2025. The contractual end date is 15th of June, so it's a 3-month contract. You finish the contract on 2nd of May, so you finished earlier. So contract delivery is 92 days, actual delivery is 48 days. 1 minus 48 divided by 92 times 100 is 48%, 48.8%. You look it up in that table, so you get 3,500 points. That's my interpretation. We'll have to see how the final RFP clarifies this. The second one, or the 10th score factor, or the second OB factor, is completeness. This means that how well you perform the contract in terms of what they call recognized documented efficiencies. So if you had 10 or more documented efficiencies, you get 5,000 points. 10 or more, I said, was a mistake. More than 10. Between 6 to 10, you get 3,500. Between 1 to 5, you get 2,500 points. If you just finish the contract, no efficiencies, you get 1,000 points. Now, the customer recognized efficiency, not your own. Customer meaning the government or owner or prime, must have been experienced during the performance of the QP. These should show measurable improvements tied to the results. Remember, this is a outcome-based type, not just level of effort. So tied to the results. Now, these efficiencies could include, so they've listed it, cost efficiencies, administrative efficiencies, performance and operations efficiencies, improved reliability and stability, reduced oversight burden, better quality outputs, and contractor-initiated improvements. Now, remember that efficiencies related to schedule, that you performed quicker, things like that, they are, they don't count here. You got points for that in the previous schedule, number 9. Now, attachment number 3, qualifying project form, has a section for this, in which the number of recognized efficiencies is written. At least so far, they're not requiring you to list, what the efficiencies were. You just put a number. The point is that since that form must be signed by the contracting officer or the owner or the prime, assuming that you have communicated with them saying that, hey, I've put 12 and here are my 12 efficiencies. Once they sign off on it, that's the attestation needed. So this is how it's working. Okay, so those were the 10 points, the sub-factors. Let's also consider price, because that's a question that used to be one of the volumes. It has been removed. So there's no price volume now. You propose a firm fixed price for attendance of 2 individuals to participate in a government-hosted virtual post-award meeting after award of the base contract. You're supposed to price that, okay? And they've already said that it's supposed to be between $50 to $100. That's it, to be considered fair and reasonable. So even if your flight ticket costs you $300, you're supposed to put something between $50 to $100, and that's it. That's all there is to pricing. And you enter this in attachment 0001, cover letter. There's a place for it you put in that $50 or $90 or whatever. Okay. Proposal documentation. I should cover this also. So what documents do you need to submit? So obviously attachment 0001 cover letter, which is a form itself. It's not a cover letter per se that we usually say in proposal writing. It's a form that you have to fill out. Attachment 0002 self-scoring scorecard. And then obviously you have to pick what type of company you are. You are supposed to provide a separate one for each domain. Okay, so if you're going for multiple domains, for each domain you submit a separate attachment 0002. Then up to 15 attachment 0003 qualifying projects. For each domain you're supposed to provide 3 forms. That's why I say up to 15, because you might be going for all 5 domains. That's 5 times 3. That's 15 qualifying projects forms. And then attached to that, you must, don't forget that, also attach the SAO or PWS, as well as the contract form to that qualifying project form. So 2 documents that you have to attach to that form: the SAO or PWS plus the contract form. They've added this new contract form plus the SAO. Then attachment 0004 PPQ is only needed if you don't have a CPAR for that QP. If you have a CPAR, you don't need to submit it. They'll look it up. But if you don't have that, you have to have a PPQ that you have already gotten signed by the contracting officer of that contract or the prime. And then if you're a large business, small business subcontracting plan. These are the documents you need to submit, and you submit through the government's own portal. They've put an Annex A, I think it's called, with the draft telling you how to register on that portal. You first have to register, and then you upload the documents. Some notes: each volume must be one single document in PDF format. Now, the qualifying project form, attachment 0003, must be signed by your official, one of your officials of the company, as well as, this is the important part, the government contracting officer of that contract, or the prime is if you're using a subcontract, or the owner if you're using a state, local, or a commercial contract. It has to be signed by them. This makes it a long lead item that needs to be worked, prepared immedially. The reason is that it has a lot of technical questions on it, issues in it. Usually the contracting officers will not just sign up. They want to understand each of those points. You have to brief them thoroughly, and then they're slow and things like that. So it's really important to start on this as soon as possible. Yesterday, I usually say. Okay. Source selection process. It's like any other self-scoring type. So first they're going to look at the minimum requirements, the gate criteria, and then they will put aside any companies that do not have the minimum requirements. Once they do that, then based on each domain, they will rank the proposals based on the final score that they have. So if take one domain, they have received, say, 250 proposals for that domain, they will rank those 250 once they have put aside the unqualified one, disqualified ones. They will rank them based on the scores, and they're not going to look at all of them. They're going to look at only 70 of them, 70. 15 large businesses, 15 emerging large businesses, 25 small businesses, and top 15 CSV. Actually, they're going to look like that. So they rank them first by score under the large business. So they're going to pick only the top 15 large businesses. Then they're going to pick only the top 15 emerging large businesses, and so on and so forth. So they will rank it. Then they will go through each of them, make sure that you have scored yourself properly. They will juggle around companies if they deduct points, And finally, they in step 3, they do responsibility checks, and step 4, they finally award. So that's the process. 70 companies per domain for a total of 350 awards. Partnering is usually a question, so I'm going to cover that also. So the draft RFP specifically mentions that companies cannot use a QP from their teaming partner, meaning the subcontractor. Now, JVs can participate in the name of the JV, but a company can only bid as a single entity or JV or mentor protege JV in any given domain. So you can't be part of a JV and also submit your own proposal for that domain. You can do it for a separate domain, but for one specific domain, you can't submit 2 proposals. So essentially, as far as sections L and M are concerned, it's not advantageous to you to create a prime sub relationship. You can have subcontractors, but you cannot use their contracts. JVs, on the other hand, can be very advantageous. Remember, you got 2,000 points extra if you had a JV under small business. Now, for JVs, the active facility clearance must be under the name of the JV or the member that is performing the necessary security work. Every member of the JV must have their own CMMC certifications unless the managing partner creates an enclave, a security enclave. If you don't know what that is, it's an IT system. So all the IT systems go under the security enclave, and that way then the other members do not have to have CMMC certification. Also, if the managing partner or the member has ISO 27001, that is acceptable. All companies don't have to have that. Okay, so that was partnering. My final recommendations. So do a full go, no go and gap analysis right now with emphasis on the gate criteria. You don't want to go after this if you don't have the minimum requirements. And if you don't have the minimum requirements, as I mentioned, go for OSS Plus, even if you're IT company, because as I said, I've seen many IT companies go for OSS Plus. The requirements are much more relaxed, but we are going to see a lot of task orders under OSS Plus this year and coming years. Okay, general notes. Start choosing your 3 QPs for each domain yesterday. Why? You have to review each and every contract you have performed during the past 4 years that fall within one of the acceptable NAICS codes and are larger than $2.5 million to come up with the best 3 contracts. We call this profiling, meaning that you independently score each contract and then compare them. So there are different sub-factors. You want to make sure that you know which contract gives you the highest score. It's a huge task, especially for those companies, usually large businesses and small businesses that have a large number of contracts, because the dollar value or anything like that don't count. You just have to make sure that it's above $2.5 million and within the proper NAICS codes. Then you have to go through it because it might have a good chance of giving you a high score. So it's a large undertaking. That's why you need a lot of people involved, either from your own company or hiring a company such as us. But essentially what I want to emphasize is that this is a large undertaking. If you have not already started, you need to start as soon as possible. Also, that note that you need to get the qualifying project form signed by the contracting officer or the owner or the prime. And this is a long lead item. That's why you need to start yesterday. The same stands if you pick a QP that doesn't have a CPAR. Then again, you have to get that PPQ filled out by the contracting officers, primes, and owners. So these 2 items are the long lead items. A lot of work needs to go through them because especially for the qualifying project form, you need to brief the contracting officer or the prime or the owner thoroughly so that they can sign off on it and send it back to you, and then you submit it to the government as your submission. Also, don't be shy on using your state, local, or commercial contracts if they abide to the requirements. They might get you a higher score than a federal contract that you have. Now you also can use subcontracts. So There's no distinction between any of these. As long as it gives you a higher score, use it by all means. And then get your proposals reviewed by a second set of eyes to ensure compliance with the requirements. Second set of eyes doesn't mean the same person in the same team. If your organization has different teams, use a separate team that has not been involved in the preparation of the proposal. Or you can, hire companies such as us. We come in and review your proposal to make sure that you have not missed anything, and to be able to see if we can maximize your score as well here. And as I said, we provide both a free consultation, free minimal or full eligibility and qualification assessment, full proposal development. We put a full team on work, and review services. In case you have your own team, we come in and review your proposal for you. Here are contact info. Please email me or my colleague Maroon Freedy for setting up these calls, or if you have any questions on our services and sales inquiries. Okay, we have reached the Q&A. Unfortunately, we are out of time. So I see there are around 20-25 questions. I will compile these and I will send it to everyone so you can actually use the answers for other people's questions as well. I apologize, I talked too much and we are out of time, so I cannot answer your questions now, but you still have time. Just type in your questions if you have not typed in, and I will answer everything by email. I will send the list of all the questions and answers to you by email very quickly. Thank you everyone for participating in our webinar. Have a great day.